Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, check out the Pete Thompson Show with your host, Pete Thompson. It's 8 to 10 a.m., and he joins us for a Tuesday with Thompson right now on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Peter?
Michael, how are you?
Good, sir. How was your weekend?
It was nice, thanks. Had a good Pete Thompson show. Thank you for promoting that. I appreciate that. We had good conversations and good discussions, and then we're ready to load up and do it all over again.
Did you watch the Derby last night?
I did watch the Derby last night. I cannot believe that the guy that hit the most home runs isn't the guy that won it, but, I think he tuckered himself out, don't you think?
Do you find that to be an outrage? There's a lot of people who don't like the fact that the guy hit 91 homers and yet wasn't crowned the champion.
Well, there's always going to be people that are. Am I outraged? No. I mean, to me, that's comfort food, is what that really is. I'll watch it, I'll enjoy it. And I will say, when Vlad Jr. was up there wailing away, I was like, holy cow, look at this guy go. But it doesn't have the same appeal that it used to me. Tonight's All-Star game, same kind of thing. I just don't have the same, tie to it, I suppose. I don't know really why, other than to say that, I'm not as in love with the game as I guess I used to be, maybe.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think the All-Star, the Derby has gotten better. Like, I checked in late, but I definitely saw people buzzing about it and talking about it, and it seemed like if you haven't watched for the last couple of years and you wouldn't have known they changed the format and then checked in last night, you'd have been like, oh, this isn't as bad as maybe what I remember it to be. So it was fun. I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing from start to finish, but what I did check in on was kind of fun. And I don't have a problem with the guy hitting 91 homers and then losing. I mean, it was a bracket style, you were up against somebody else. You beat that person and you moved on in advance. I mean, it's like, being in the NCAA tournament, winning a game by 40 and then going on to the next round and losing.
Right, and that was his Vlad Jr.'s first go at it. Maybe next time he'll realize perhaps I should hold a little back. I mean, he really couldn't, though, because in the semis with Jock Peterson, he had to go home run per home run, right? Mano a mano. I mean, they were going at it back and forth. They went through regulation, they went through overtime, then they went to 3 swings. I mean, it was in the semis. It was intense.
Yeah, it was. You were on the edge of your seat, Peter.
I guess. I mean, this the edge of my lazy boy.
Yeah. So how was I was waiting to talk to you because number one, the PT bailed on the MG again this weekend. That was number one at the top of my list. Number two,
I told you that I probably wasn't going to make it.
No. That's not what you actually. That's not true. You admitted that you forgot that you said you were going to be making it.
I did.
Yeah, that's what you texted me. Oh yeah, now I remember. You said. But regardless, it's good that you. It's better that you bailed because it makes this conversation a little better. Okay.
Yes.
Because you went to the blackjack game on Saturday.
It was as exciting a blackjack game as I've been to of all the ones I've gone to.
Okay.
I mean, I've had some discussions via Twitter with Nick Costco about the attendance, but, look, I think no matter what you want to pick for the number, it was the best attended game that they played so far this season.
Okay,
I will agree to that.
There is no question about that. And they had an announced crowd of 7,100, which is excellent. So I had a couple of questions. I want to see if you can match up because I know Nick, and he's a nice kid. He also thinks Rutgers football is somewhat relevant, so I can't really take him at face value sometimes.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So now Ryan, who works for the team as well, he's the guy who on the field that throws out the T-shirts. So yeah. I'm not saying he's I think Ryan's being truthful. He has been truthful with the stuff. So I want to see if your stuff matches. He believed that the stadium was 60-40 in favor of blackjack fans.
Yeah, I would go with those numbers. I would say that. I mean, it was definitely because here's the thing. There was a Soul representation, and there was a pocket of Soul fans that were directly right above the Soul. They saved that section for the
I only asked that question because on TV, that group of people was very prevalent.
Prominent.
Which means if you're watching the game on TV, you had the thought of there's a lot of Soul fans there because that's what you kept seeing.
Yeah, no, it was really one section. I mean, or a section or two. You know, those two sections that are behind the Soul bench opposite of where you normally sit when you go. Mm-hmm. Those sections were all Soul. And then, you know, I saw like a little pocket. See, here's the thing. I go up to the roof, like the press box, if you want to be generous and call it that, the press seating area is way up high. And, you know, it's funny. We just went and we don't even sit in the press section. We just went and found a couple seats next to the press section. But I could see some Soul fans in different sections standing when the Soul and cheering when the Soul scored. But trust me, I would go with Ryan's number. 60-40, I think, is a fine split. Okay. Maybe even 70-30.
All right. Now, my next question would be, the announced number of 7,100, you know, it doesn't even matter. Like, if they had 5,000 people there, I think that's a huge win for them because as you and I both kind of are in this conversation, I've been to 3 games. The announced crowd and the actual crowd are 2 different crowds. But it seemed that there was a lot of people, we were all kind of wondering, it's July 4th weekend, and, you know, it's now because there was some concern about the fact that it was July 4th weekend. Now, was the weather not being so great a plus? So I was kind of interested in, because it seemed that people were actually into the game, which I thought was a good sign. Like, it was a good game, and that really was you know, a good product that people got excited about the actual game there. But 7,100 was the announced crowd. Would you say, because on TV, the bottom bowls seemed to be very full, which would look pretty good. Now, the up top, you couldn't tell because it was really dark out. Right. Dark in the they darkened out that section.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the way they do that by design. I would agree with this. I would say that the bottom bowl was full. I would say the second tier was as full as it's ever been.
Great.
Including, you know, I mean, here's my litmus test.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Right. We got there right at kickoff, and we normally sit in the very top row of what I would call the second tier. And then there's like a little third tier that goes up along the 2 sides, and they have that on like temporary bleachers, and that's where they put the press seating and that type of stuff. We went up into that section, and the guy I was with was like, well, what are we sitting up here for? And I said, I have a feeling like it's actually going to fill up below us. And it did. It filled all the way up to that top row.
Nice.
So that, to me, is the barometer of a big crowd. I don't know if it's 7,000 people, but like you said, if it's 5, that's still way more than the 3,500 that, you know. Look, they've had some games where I thought the crowd was thin. This was definitely the biggest crowd, and they were so into it. You know, I mean, we moved down for the fourth quarter and watched the entire fourth quarter in the end zone by the stage, which is where Ryan stands before he goes out and throws the T-shirts. Oh, by the way, kudos to whoever actually thought to start wrapping them up with electrical tape. That was something Ryan and I had discussed. The T-shirts were exploding out of the cannon, and they would only go like 10 feet and fall apart. So I was like, come on, man, you got to wrap these things up with duct tape or something.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Well, so, yeah, because I said I had been to 3 games. I was at opening night, which had a good crowd, and then 2 games where it was just okay. I would say, you know, my eye test told me about 3,500, and those were about announced over 5,000. So, but my question really is moving forward is, what is that magic number that will get that to be a successful product and keep it there? Because we all don't want to see the team leave.
Right. Well, and the big thing is so Weinberg was there, you know, Dave Weinberg from the Press Atlantic City, and I saw him at halftime take off, and I thought, like, I guess he's going to the John or something, right? And then he comes back, and not long after.
That is your guess of where he's going?
Yeah.
He's leaving the arena, and he's going to the John?
No, he's leaving the press seating area to go. There's not a bathroom off the press box. There isn't even a damn press box, for God's sake. But I saw a tweet that said, hey, Ron Jaworski says that they're going to be back for sure. So I had retweeted that. And then I even kind of put a little sugar on top of my retweet by saying, you know, kudos to Dave for, you know, tracking down Ron Jaworski.
Well, what started this whole conversation to begin with is because I chimed in and said, you know, nothing against that, but Jaws had also said that the Soul would have been back at Boardwalk Hall, and that never happened.
That's true. Of course,
But,
that was a different set of circumstances back then.
correct.
In this case, too, the biggest thing is that I believe, isn't it the CRDA or they've signed a 3-year deal already to begin with? I mean,
Yes, I think they're locked in for at least 3 to start.
So they would have had to They would have had to come out and completely bleep the bed this season, which they have not done. I think to me, they have met, if not in this last game, exceeded expectations of what it can be with the proper marketing and the proper advance notice, and maybe a schedule that isn't so brutal too. I mean, this was definitely, they were given the schedule of, you're just joining the league and we don't have that many teams. This is your schedule. I mean, they were gone basically the entire month of June.
Yeah, well, they played 3 in a row at home and then went away for 4 straight weeks and then got, which we were all kind of like, in the building here, like, I don't know, 4th of July weekend is kind of a tough spot, but it seemingly seemed to work out for them. So you wonder if the league will set it up for the future of Philadelphia, you're going to be in AC every 4th of July weekend, and that's going to turn into like an annual event.
I hope so. I would think so. Based off the way the crowd was this past weekend. But God forbid, you and I suggest something that makes sense. But that completely makes sense to create that natural rivalry between the two teams. And listen, you look at the season opener; they played in Philadelphia and lost 48-41. This last weekend is one possession game. Last weekend, Dan Radabaugh broke everybody's hearts in the building because he threw the dart. Boom. Soul win again. The game in Philadelphia on the 16th, that was one where the quarterback, Randy Hibbert, got hurt. So you can't, in that one, throw that one out of the equation. The 2 other games are both one-possession games. I think there's a natural rivalry developing, and plus they say they're going to add a couple more teams, too. I think Jaws came out and said that as well. That
I think 8 to 10.
Yeah, great. That means not as brutal a schedule and a more balanced schedule. And I just think with a whole year to lead up, I mean, look, they didn't even name the team until, about a month before they were going to play a game?
Yeah, no, they were up. I will say, honestly, they have exceeded the expectations that I thought for them. I really thought that they were going to struggle to get people in that building. And then, as you said, the schedule, like you looked at it, you're gone for 4 straight weeks and out of sight, out of mind, and it's 4th of July weekend. They've exceeded my expectations for year number 1, but I don't have any idea what their goals are. Like, what do they need? I just know that attendance around the league, they are second from the bottom in attendance. So, like everything in that building, you got to get more people there somehow. Got to get more people in that building. It was good. Got to get to great, though.
Yeah, no doubt. And they were borderline great on Saturday. And that's the thing is that
Saturday would be great. I think Saturday, if they got Saturday consistently, that would be labeled as, all right, we did a great job. Somebody sent me an email. A listener yesterday sent me an email, and he brought up a couple good points, which is minor league sports typically draw from a 45-mile radius. The problem we have with the 45 miles is half of the 45 on one side is ocean.
Yep.
So 45 miles out that way, you're not getting anybody except for the fishes.
That is correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're really
and then
drawing.
If you went 45 miles, you're branching over into Delaware, although I know we have a lot of Delaware listeners to the Sports Bash, and I have people from Delaware who are asking me, how can I get Blackjacks tickets? I'd like to come in. So there's somebody who wants to make the fly from Delaware to come check out the product. And, of course, all that comes to boot with it. Listen, this is what I know.
You got to ask yourself the question, do you want to spend marketing dollars out of state to maybe get a handful of people to drive to come to the building?
Yeah, I mean, and as far as their marketing goes, I don't. They were so late in the game on getting the name out there and getting themselves marketed. I think they've got nowhere to go but up. But the biggest marketing, you can spend all the money you want. You can come up with all the fancy campaigns and all the ad dollars and all that stuff. The biggest thing is word of mouth. And the people that were there Saturday night, including a lot of local people, like before the game had even been decided, I ran into people that were, local Atlantic County people saying that, hey, they were so excited that there was a team back in the area. They wanted to support a minor league franchise. Whatever it was, they wanted to support it. And I was pleased to hear that. Then with the outcome, you just knew that all the people that might have been on the fence, I mean, they throw a ball in the stands, you get to keep the ball. Everybody's getting a T-shirt or they're getting a hot dog, or I mean, the tickets are as low as $10. What more do you want to be able to take your kids? And I think the biggest eye opener, and you'll probably be able to echo this too, is that when you go see the product in person, it is so fast-paced and up-tempo that you don't feel like you're going to a baseball game that could be 4 hours long and boring.
Yeah,
it
well,
is up-tempo, it moves quick, and it's affordable.
We asked this question a lot, here on the Sports Bash, PT, which is, if arena football was all we knew, and it came like prior to regular football, would it be as big as the NFL is? Like if this was football as we knew it inside an arena with 7 guys?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, because, we're all raised on football where there are punts or there are, I mean, you don't punt in the Arena League. You can score from anywhere on the field, but, the fact that the guy, I asked one of the people I ran into on Saturday night was a local high school football coach. And I said, how do you think that would do at your school? How do you think your offensive coordinator would like it if he could start his guy in motion and then you chuck the ball, hike it as soon as and he goes, oh my God. He goes, let's not give him any more to think about, because that's the beauty of the game, is that it's so vertical, it's so upfield, and there's really never a dull moment. And the strategy of the game, Mike, comes into it all the time. I mean, I was standing in the end zone when, look, the Soul scored right off the bat. They went for 2 right off the bat. Instead of going up 7-0, they went up 8-0, And then the beauty of the points, and do you go for 2, or how are you trying to get the ball back? They've changed the rules now to where there's no 2-minute warning like in NFL football. There's not even a 1-minute warning. They stop the clock at 30 seconds. 30 seconds and down, that's when they stop the clock.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a running clock, and it's intense.
No, it's in fact, where I was watching the game, it was on television, and almost everybody in my area all was watching the game and cheering when they scored that last touchdown. So there was a legitimate, like, hometown pride behind it, like, we just scored, and then the disappointment of when Philadelphia scored, which is interesting because most people around here cheer for Philadelphia when they score, and in this case, you're cheering against Philadelphia when they scored, so it was kind of an odd, thing. But that feeling of, hey, this is our team, and we just scored, so that was kind of cool. And while I was hopeful that you would have lived up to your word and met me out Saturday, I'm glad that you weren't for the sake of this segment. That I had some questions.
So I can have an on the scene perspective of what it was like in the building. It was palpable excitement would be the words that I would use. I mean, when the Blackjacks scored to go up, there was definitely that glee and that feeling of like, this is it. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. And, me being the Negadelphian that I've been born and raised to be, I looked at the clock and said, it's not on zeros yet.
Yep. Well, I just got a text that says it costs more to park your car than your ticket to the Blackjacks. And guess what? That's been a problem with everything in there. When the Boardwalk Bullies were there, you paid $8 for the ticket. You paid $25 to park. They got to do something about that, man. You can't charge more to park. Although if you park at a Phillies game, it's $25, and you can get a ticket for $12 sometimes.
Right, that's no doubt. I mean, the lots around Citizens Bank or Wells Fargo Center are just as expensive. I don't know how they get a grip on that, because that is, you're right. Going back to the Bullies days, the Bullies tickets were affordable. It's just that, a certain guy that's now in the White House had a monopoly on, like, the parking around the hall, I mean, that's the thing. When the Bullies are around, half of the Trump Plaza, Trump had some sort of deal with the Boardwalk Hall, and he was grandfathered in where his employees, they took up half the spots. Well, so then if you can't park for what the Boardwalk Hall price was, you had to go to the independent guys around in the lots that were around, and they'll just jack up the price.
Yeah, they can't do that.
Event break.
Yeah, can't do that, man. You gotta work with the people. You can't have people complaining that it costs more to park than it does to go to the game. Pete Thompson, Tuesday with Thompson. We got so much more we got to get into. We might have to do another segment together here, Peter.
Whatever you want, man. I serve at the pleasure of Mike Gill.
Well, real quick. So the Pete Thompson Show, Saturday mornings, 8 o'clock, 8 to 10. And the Twitter question. Now, you had told me about the Seinfeld. I felt unbelievably old when you said, originally you sent me that. The 30th anniversary of the debut show was Friday, and they aired Seinfeld from 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, the entire day, TBS.
Yeah, it was great.
30 years ago, that show opened. So your question was, what was your favorite episode or catchphrase from the show? And you got a lot of good answers. Did you have your own answer, Peter?
Oh, my own was definitely the contest. I mean, I thought
I figured yours would be about touching yourself.
It's just, to me, I just thought it was so clever. I mean, we didn't have the proliferation of Netflix or Hulu, or we didn't have so many different things in the early 90s. To have a on-network television half hour of episodic television that had to deal with that subject was priceless. And I think I said this on the air Saturday too, because Seinfeld came before Curb. Until Curb Your Enthusiasm came out, you never really understood how much influence Larry David had on the great Seinfeld episodes. Like his voice and his writing and his, dare I say it, warped sense of humor, and when you see some of the Curb Your Enthusiasm, then you realize, like, oh, that's why this was in this episode of Seinfeld, or that's why they went in this direction, because Jerry really was the guy out front. You didn't see Larry David, but you saw the back of his head as Steinbrenner, and that was it. But, he's genius. I think Larry David's hilarious, and the show, and that's one of the big things, too, is that, casting is always clutch. There was a point in time where they said that, like, maybe Tom Selleck could have been Indiana Jones. Hey, with all due respect to Tom Selleck, who's a hit in everything he's ever been in, I don't think Indiana Jones would have been the same if it wasn't Harrison Ford. Just like I don't think Seinfeld would have been the same if they didn't have Michael Richards or Julia Louis-Dreyfus or
all right, they nailed it with that. They definitely nailed it with the cast there. All right. So you're going to hang there, Peter, because we got some other stuff I want to get into.
For you, I'll stay.
Tuesday with Thompson. I'll just rip off a couple of my favorites, by the way, which is the Kenny Rogers Roasters.
Kenny! That was on there.
Yep. The puffy shirt.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be a pirate. It's one of my favorites. The marine biologist.
Uh-huh. That was on there.
Yeah. Now, one of my favorite lines, you asked that as well, was when Kramer was driving the bus, and he's like, you kept making all the stops? And he says, well, they kept ringing the bell. And George looks at him, he says, you're Batman. And he says, I am Batman.
I like the old George line, it's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right. It's not a lie.
I've used that in my real life.
Oh, yeah, I know you do. All right, stick around. We'll do more Tuesday with Thompson because the PT was into something that I can't believe he was into. Peter, I wouldn't classify you as a soccer fan, but you were certainly tweeting away about the soccer, U.S. women's soccer team. Let me ask you, have you now converted to soccer fan, or is it just for the Women's World Cup? Or do you find yourself now getting into the Premier League, let's say?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to delve down that path. Nor did I watch like U.S. men in Mexico later on in the evening from Chicago, or the whatever the Copa Americana, whatever that was. No, I'm not going full force in. But look, how can you not be captivated by watching history in a dynasty? And that's what the women are. I mean, they won 4 World Cups. That's a record. They won back-to-back, only the second team to do that. And they did it in one of the fields that was so stacked to basically try and beat them. All the European teams were all improved and all better, and they went out there and they basically dominated again. And that to me was what made it such a compelling story. I didn't even, I would watch the result come in. Like when they won their very first match over there, 13-0, they were criticized. It wasn't like I was watching every minute of every play of that. No, I didn't really jump on board until they played England, quite frankly, because I said, all right, this has probably got the makings of a good match. And it not only was good, it exceeded my expectations. It was so good that it's the kind of match that you'd want a non-soccer fan to watch, because then, they'd have no defense of it's boring or I hate seeing 0-0 ties. You're not getting a 0-0 tie in this. And so that was awesome. And then the final was really good, too, against the Netherlands. Look, it was the first time the U.S. didn't come out and score quickly, and yet it was still compelling soccer. It was fun to watch.
What was your, were you, what was it, Saturday afternoon at 11?
Sunday.
Sunday
It was
afternoon
Sunday
at 11. So
at
were
11.
you, like, waiting in anticipation in front of the like, were you watching pregame?
No, I don't watch any pregame. No, I wait until like 10:59 and 30 seconds and turn the TV on, and away you go. Yeah, but it goes quick too. I mean, to be honest with you, like I left it on the channel during halftime too. I mean, all they really do is kind of recap the goals and talk about some of the things you already know because you watched it. But I watched a little bit afterwards too, just to see some of the celebration and to see like who held up the trophy first, and they let Carly Lloyd hold it up first. But then Rapinoe had it, then Carly Lloyd had it.
Well, that was what got me though, Peter, was that you were tweeting about things like that. Like, you tweeted the obligatory Carly Lloyd appearance. Lloyd not shy about communicating that she didn't like her roll off the bench, like you were some insider.
Well, I don't know about insider, but I mean, that was pretty common knowledge from anybody that had watched any of the broadcasts. Carly Lloyd didn't want to come off the bench, and Jill Ellis, who's the coach of the U.S. women's national team, felt that was her better role. And, quite frankly, the future of the U.S. women's team is a girl like Rose Lavelle. You
tweeted about her, too, in a classic PT way. A Rose by any other name is still a Rose in capital letters. What a left foot from Rose Lavelle as she scores in the 69th minute. I'm sure you chuckled. To put U.S. up 2-0. Huge goal you wrote.
Yeah, I didn't even get the 69th minute reference until you just said it, honestly. But, look, I was into it, okay? I cannot tell a lie. I was into it.
I was reading these tweets in amazement.
Right, and I wrote about...
What the H-double hockey sticks is the referee watching? I'm thinking to myself, what the hell does Pete Thompson know about a soccer foul?
I know that you can't put your foot up near the other girl's face. I know that that's a penalty, and they went to what they call VAR. So that's the funny thing, too. The PT is tweeting on his phone, which is like a dinosaur, right? So as I'm trying to, hammer out my tweet, then, of course, the thing comes back that it is a penalty. So I just ran two tweets really into one. First, I was pissed off because the referee didn't call anything. Then, all of a sudden, they must have buzzed her in her ear. And, by the way, female referee, too, for the all-women's final. That's fair. That's the way it should be, right? So then, as I'm bitching about it, then they came through and pointed at the spot. And so I was like, oh, good. Okay. Yeah, thank God.
Well,
listen,
yeah.
Here's two things.
That was my most entertaining thing, was watching the PT's tweets. A great run by Tobin Heath that ends with her 1v1, but so gash she can barely get a shot off or even draw the foul.
Right. Well, that's me trying to use some soccer lingo. I mean, come on now. I'm picking up the lingo. 1v1. That's huge soccer lingo right there.
Yeah. I like this one. Some stressful moments for the U.S. right there near the end of the half as the Netherlands nearly converts on a corner. But it's halftime and scoreless in France. Sorry Van Veenendaal and her 4 saves. The story so far. More from the PT in the second half.
That's right. Yeah, more to come. 4 big chances there. Alex Morgan flick. That's a soccer term, right? I mean, at that point, I didn't know the Netherlands keeper's name. And, unlike the week before where I screwed up the U.S. keeper's name, I was going to wait until I put the name in until I had it correct. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
The PT, he takes pictures of the TV screen. So I went up when her name went up, paused the TV, took a picture, then filed that away for later when I was going to tweet about her, and I did.
Yeah, you'll have that picture stored on your phone for some time, and then at some point.
No, that's been deleted.
Gone.
The Netherlands.
Out of there.
Right.
From the Netherlands.
Yeah.
All right.
Gone, yeah.
So, Peter, by the way, Coatsy called us.
Yeah, that was great. So he's doing his thing here. And, I wish I had that kind of stuff had come around when I was a kid. This Flyers Community Caravan tour is really pretty awesome. And today was just the start of it. There's a couple more days. Tomorrow they're going to be in Ocean City.
Is this like their version of the Sixers Beach Bash?
Very, very much so. It's family friendly. It's this pop-up fan festival. First of all, it's free, okay? Absolutely free. And you could go around and they got like a inflatable street hockey rink, a shot on goal game, bubble hockey tables, alumni are there. There's giveaways and prizes and things like that, which, and Gritty. I mean, if you want to get your picture taken with Gritty, come on, get it done. But, Yeah, today was the Hounds, Brad Marsh, Doug Crossman, and Coatsy. Tomorrow in Ocean City, they'll have Bob Kelly, the Hound, Brad Marsh, Crossman, and Riley Cote. Remember Riley Cote? And then the big one, I think Thursday is a good one too, because that's in North Wildwood, and that's probably the most alumni. They've got Bob Kelly, Brad Marsh, Doug Crossman, Riley Cote, Steve Coates, and Dave the Hammer Schultz.
There you go. All right, Pete Thompson. So we were talking about Seinfeld earlier, so I want to ask you this question, all right?
Talk to me.
So most of the Seinfeld characters couldn't really go on to another show because they were so associated with that show. Now, Julia Louis-Dreyfus did go on to Veep, was it?
Right, Veep, yeah.
Yeah, Veep, and I guess she kind of broke away from her character, I guess, right? I mean...
Yes, yeah.
But of Jerry... Seinfeld, Michael Richards, Jason Alexander, none of them, I mean, Jerry, I guess, just chose not to do anything else, right?
Yeah,
Michael Richards.
How much is enough, right?
Right.
I mean,
Michael Richards and Jason Alexander all had, Jason Alexander really has struggled to get some roles, right? I mean, he has been in some pretty bad stuff, actually, afterwards, just trying to get anything. But could you buy those? What's that? Right.
He's
because
so associated with Costanza.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you buy any of those guys as another character, or is that it? They're done.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I've never watched any episodes of Veep, but I hear it's great, and I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is pretty multi-talented. And, you know, to me, go the other way. What's funny is when you see Jason Alexander in Pretty Woman, you don't think there's George. Like, you didn't think that at the time, you know? I mean, maybe now you do, but you know what I mean? Like, he played the assistant to Richard Gere, and he was kind of the jerk that roughed up Julia Roberts. I mean, that's the thing is these guys had other parts.
Did he do the show, or was he in the Larry David, when he was in Curb, that they had the idea for the show of the guy who couldn't get another job because he was so typecasted as this one character? Wasn't that a storyline in Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they did a whole season basically they did a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm season about how they were going to try to reunite Seinfeld. You know, they were going to try to get the people back together. Yeah. Yeah,
and he was pitching the idea to Larry David of, hey, let's come up with this idea for the show of this guy who can't get a job because he's so associated with this character, wasn't it?
Right, and it says that the reunion show was going to be on George, who's married a woman named Amanda, and she made a fortune devising an iPhone app called the iToilet that directed users to the nearest decent public toilet.
Right,
you know.
Right. Now, Michael Richards had all sorts of issues. I don't know that at least Jason Alexander has done a little bit. I don't know that Michael Richards has appeared anywhere.
Not much, other than, God forbid, that infamous video at the Laugh Factory when he started yelling at people in the audience and he got heckled and then apologized to it. I mean, I saw Michael Richards. He did one of Jerry's comedians in cars.
Oh, did he?
Getting coffee. Yeah, he did one of those and looked fine and normal. It wasn't like he's going into hiding or something like that, like, say, Salman Rushdie. But, sorry, that's another Seinfeld reference. You know, in the Curb Your Enthusiasm show, in the episode, Jerry has a line where he says, "We already screwed up one finale." That's a reference to the fact that the actual finale was not well received.
Yeah. So. My favorite, you've seen the Larry King interview with Jerry Seinfeld when he was on the Larry King show, and he's like, "So you canceled them. They didn't cancel you." He's like, "Are you kidding me? Do you know who I am?"
I've seen it. And look, Larry King, I love when Larry King, God bless him, but I love when Larry King, like, you can tell that he, you know, because there's another one with the cast of Friends where he's like,
"Did you do any research for this interview?"
That's Larry King.
Yes. No, he gave it to him.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
As he should. Hey, look, whatever you want to say about Seinfeld, and I love Jerry Seinfeld, he threw out a perfect strike the other night. I thought that was great.
Oh, he sidearmed one in there.
Yeah, he threw it great, you know. How can you knock the guy?
Now, somebody texted in that Julia Louis-Dreyfus also had a show on ABC that was a hit.
Yeah, but I can't remember. It was like, The New Adventures of Old Christine or something like that. That was on CBS, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, she's probably been the most successful of the four. And not that Jerry wouldn't be successful. I'm saying as far as disassociating herself from the role of Elaine.
Well, she was able to do so.
Yeah, but I don't think Michael Richards nor Jason Alexander have been as
It's like the PT. Like, was the PT ever going to not be associated with the sports guy on TV 40? Even though 40 hasn't been around for a long time now?
Let's see. What are we going on?
Pete Thompson and I will be at lunch or breakfast or somewhere, and someone will walk up to the table still and be like, I still watch you on TV. I'm like, this dude hasn't been on TV for years, lady.
Well, you'll be happy to know this. I was in the Tuckerton Walmart last week, and I was walking around getting some things, and the manager looked at me kind of funny, and I thought, oh, he's going to say something. And he says, are you Pete Thompson? I said, yes, I am. He says, I listen to you on the radio all the time. Aha. He said, I recognize the voice.
Peter, it's like that question I ask all the time with like soccer or lacrosse. Like, at what point are all these kids playing soccer and lacrosse going to switch over to where they overtake? At what time are more people going to recognize Pete Thompson as the radio guy or the TV guy?
I think this is the year. I think this is
when the crossover happens.
This is the summer right now, especially when Pete Thompson has the Pete Thompson show. Like Jimmy likes to talk about how much Jimmy likes Elaine. Pete Thompson has to talk about Pete Thompson in the third person.
It is the Pete Thompson Show. It's this Saturday morning, 8 to 10, and every Saturday morning, 8 to 10. Efforting Tommy Green. You'll have the Phillies second half, I'm sure. Sixers Summer League is going on. Ryan said yesterday that the Sixers Summer League, Vegas Summer League, is one of his bucket lists now.
Who says that?
Ryan.
Oh, well, God bless him. Is he looking for me or you to join him? Because
I wouldn't mind going. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, anybody who's somebody's out there watching. I mean, LeBron James is out there. I mean, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Brett Brown. I mean, everybody's out there, man.
All right, MG, you work it up somehow and make an official 97 free business.
We're going to try that.
Write it off
We're going to try that.
Get some funding.
All right. It's Pete Thompson's show, 8 to 10, and this is Tuesday with Thompson, and it's right here every Tuesday, every Saturday. And, Peter, you got a busy weekend, by the way. Pete Thompson show, 8 to 10, Burke Motor Group, 11 to 1, and then the annual barbecue festival from 2 to 4.
I'm stoked. Got to keep my feet moving. No time to talk. The one time I'm going to be rude to the public. No time to talk. Got to go. No time to talk. Got to go.
All right, man. See you.
See you, buddy.